Good morning and welcome to Fact Check with the Catholic Church under the auspices of Catholic Association of Social Media Influencers, Nsukka Diocese, CASMIN. There is a video in circulation that condemns utterly the distribution of Holy Communion by non-priests, precisely lay persons and reverend sisters. We would like to address the situation at this point in time. I'm Reverend Father Teklus Ikechukwu, and with me is
Reverend Father Joseph C. Asogwa.
Father Joseph. You are highly welcome.
Thank you.
So, Father Joseph, in an attempt to address the crux of the matter with regard to the distribution of Holy Communion, we could recall that on the night before he died, Christ gathered his apostles in an attempt to institute his body and blood as an inestimable gift to humanity. And after that institution, every century could witness volumes of works on the Holy Eucharist from part of the Roman Empire and beyond. However, in all the works concerning the Holy Eucharist, none actually discussed the distribution of the Holy Communion. If actually the distribution is as important as the Holy Communion itself, I suppose that such volumes of work on the Holy Eucharist would have thought about it. Bearing in mind that it has become a situation to be discussed in our own time, what actually happened within those moments that the distribution of Holy Communion was never an issue?
Practically, all documents attest to the practice of communion within the Mass. But over time, this discipline slackened. And that is why St. John Chrysostom, who lived between 349 to 407, said, "In vain do we stand before the altar if there is no one to partake." However, in the 19th and 20th centuries, there was a return to frequent communion at Mass, spurred by different spiritual associations, increased devotion to the Sacred Heart, and also from the encouragement of some popes. So there was a return now to habitual communion within the context of the Mass.
That's good. Thank you so much for that beautiful clarification. That therefore implies that there was no need for a distribution of Holy Communion to be a theological problem, since the reception was not as frequent as it is now. Therefore, from 19th to 20th centuries, as you actually said, the distribution increased, the reception increased. By implication, the Church would have thought about the modus operandi of how the Holy Eucharist will be distributed. Is there any document that you can attest to that actually clarified on the distribution of Holy Communion, especially in our own times, starting from the 19th and 20th centuries?
Yes, there's a document of the Church, the General Instruction of the Roman Missal, the GIRM, number 182, establishes that the bishops and priests are the ordinary ministers of the Holy Communion, including the deacon who participates in the Mass. These are the ordinary ministers of the communion.
That's good. Thank you so much. If actually the bishop and priest become the ordinary ministers, means that they have the privilege to distribute the Holy Communion during Mass. Now that we established earlier that there become a situation whereby more population could be found as communicants during Mass. If actually one priest is to celebrate the Mass and it is difficult for one priest to distribute the Holy Communion, is there any provision for extraordinary ministers?
Yes, the Church has also made a provision for extraordinary ministers of communion, as found in the same document, General Instruction of the Roman Missal, number 182, where it is impossible for the ordinary minister of communion to distribute the Holy Communion. There are extraordinary ministers of Holy Communion who have been trained, who have received sufficient theological and spiritual preparation for that office to help the ordinary minister in case where the ordinary minister cannot distribute to the whole faithful.
Beautiful. I think this is the crux of the matter, because many videos in circulation is on the ground that no person who is not a priest should distribute the Holy Communion. Therefore, it's restricted for priests alone. But from your explanation, number 182 of the General Instruction of Roman Missa made it clear that there is a provision for lay persons who have been trained. My beloved brothers and sisters, we could observe that when we say that only priests should distribute Holy Communion, I think we may not be getting the right teaching of the church about this. There is a possibility for the extraordinary ministers. Therefore, Father Joseph, is there any discipline or restriction on these extraordinary ministers who are not priests and bishops or deacons participating at Mass while distributing Holy Communion?
Yes, there are disciplines to be observed. As earlier said, first, they must have received sufficient theological and spiritual preparation. Secondly, they must be duly permitted by the diocesan bishop. And thirdly, for the actual distribution of the Holy Communion, the extraordinary minister of the Holy Communion can not self-communicate. By this I mean receive the Holy Eucharist before the ordinary minister of the Holy Communion. The ordinary minister of the Holy Communion, the bishop or the priest or the deacon assisting at Mass, will first give to the extraordinary minister and then hands over the vessel or the ciborium to the extraordinary minister, who then goes to distribute to the faithful. He cannot self-communicate before the priest, the ordinary minister, even by intinction.
Interesting. So the clear-cut dichotomy between the ordinary ministers and the extraordinary ministers therefore becomes self-communication. Beautiful. At this point in time, my beloved audience, we really need to bear this in mind, that the Holy Mother Church has a special teaching on the distribution of Holy Communion. And the Church, as the bride of Christ, can never lead us astray. Let us continue to put our hope in the Holy Mother Church, who has the teachings as a mother and teacher, Mater et Magister. Far more significantly, our blessed Lord in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 28, from verses 18 to 20, made it clear that whatever the church bounds on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever they loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Hence, let us continue to follow the Holy Mother Church, who alone can show us the way to his bridegroom, Jesus Christ. God bless you.